Firstly, thank you for coming along to this session. Thanks to the NDC Partnership Pavilion for hosting us and for being so persistent with the technology issues. It's been a tough day, I think, for technology and for queues. So appreciate everyone for coming along. Unfortunately, Rachel Kite, who was going to be doing our opening remarks, is held up with negotiations and won't be able to join us today. She sends her sincere apologies. Rachel has been a tireless and long-term champion of clean energy, but particularly of clean energy for everyone. She has been the chair and CEO of Sustainable for Energy for All and was the special representative of the UN Secretary General. Also there championing inclusive, just transition and clean energy opportunities. We're speaking today about scaling clean energy solutions in displacement settings. So to set the tone, I would like to invite Irene from Last Mile Climate to speak a little bit about her experience, both working with Last Mile Climate and herself as a refugee, and the challenges that refugees and forcibly displaced people face in accessing clean energy. Io, if the tech's working. Are you on channel 24? Can you hear me? Then the floor is all yours, Io.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Thank you for our audience for coming to attend this very important meeting. I'm going to take you through the reason why we are hosting this at the NDC Partnership Pavilion. I'm a South Sudanese refugee who is displaced, and I live now in Uganda in Kiriandongo Refugee Settlement. Today's event is hosted in the NDC Partnership Pavilion, where we celebrate how many countries have already submitted their NDCs and how many more will commit and have committed to do so as part of these core processes. But our subject is clean energy in displacement settings. At the end of 2024, UNHCR estimated 122.2 million people had been forced to flee their homes globally due to prosecutions, conflicts, violence, human rights violations, or even seriously disturbing public orders. Among them were nearly 42.7 million refugees. I am one of these millions. Forcefully displaced people do not have government to represent us. We cannot submit NDCs, nor it is easy for us to participate in the COP processes. For example, getting my visa here, coming to Brazil in April was really, really very tough. And now I have one of my colleagues, Kimodim, who is still struggling to come because he didn't get his visa to Brazil. But if we were a country, forcefully displaced people would comprise the 11th or 12th largest country in the world by population, somewhere equivalent to Japan or DRC. By the population, refugees alone would be among the fourth most populated countries. Yet compared to the focus on population nation and their NDCs, almost no attention is given to the situation of forcefully displaced persons. Many of them whom have no meaningful access to electricity rely on firewood or charcoal to make their cooking needs. And just to tell you, in the refugee settlement where I come from, we no longer use charcoal. Most households now depends on plastic bottles for cooking. So now we should change the language from, cooking, from firewood cooking to plastic cookings. to clean energy. Short of the meeting, the ambitious and urgent climate goals, which are the driver of this whole COP process, UNHCR and other humanitarian actors spend over $100 million on fuel each year, emitting something in the region, 200 people, 200 tons of carbon. This is before accounting for the estimate 2 billion spent by refugee households on energy each year, a cost borne by some of the poorest and most vulnerable people in the world. So we are also failing to capitalize on remarkable opportunity for people in the situations of protracted displacement. Many of us come to see this is our new home. We will invest our time, energy, and in providing clean energy goods and services to the community. So many refugee-led organizations are doing so much in mitigating climate solutions. There are different community-led solutions by us now. For example, Living Green and Odari Foundation that is proudly funded by Ashden organization in Chaka. They're leading the production of briquettes and also integrating with the electric cooking stove. So these are great initiatives that really refugee-led organizations are doing, but it's hardly seen in the world, and they spend very little resources in doing this. So this is something really I wanted to bring also to your attention. Forcefully displaced people can and should be the front line and center of efforts to lead the clean energy revolution in displacement setting. This is not simply a question of equity or inclusivity. It is about effectiveness, efficiency, and the dignity of refugees. We can hear today from some of our organizations making this bold vision an everyday reality. We have great partners in the room that are really going to tell us the great work they're already doing in increasing access to clean energy in displacement setting. And I want to give the mic back to Isona, who is going to lead this panel. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think we should applaud your efforts for getting here and recognize how difficult it is for so many people to participate in the COP process and the pressure that goes on those few who can to speak for so many who can't. So really, really grateful for you for joining our session today. Before we move to our online speakers, I was going to reflect a little bit on how the Transforming Humanitarian Energy Access program came to being at Ashden. We run an annual award cycle which recognizes clean energy innovation and nature-based solutions both in the UK and the Global South. And in 2020, we were asked by the GPA and UNITAR to look at awards for innovation on clean energy in displacement settings. Exactly as Ayo has set out, there are millions of people struggling to access energy in these settings. The humanitarian infrastructure is spending millions of dollars and emitting over 200,000 tons of carbon every year. And also we see a huge refugee population spending $2 billion each year on polluting fuels in order to power their appliances and to cook their food. So we started running this award on powering refugees and displaced people in 2020, and we ran this award for 5 years, and we had over 500 applications. But the vast majority of these applications were coming from humanitarian agencies, were coming from major international players. And while their work is sorely needed and very much deserving of an award, what we recognized was there was not enough coming from refugee-led organizations and community-led actors. But if you get on the ground in a displacement setting, as I will testify, There are hundreds of refugee entrepreneurs. There are hundreds of refugee-led organizations delivering essential energy services. And we wanted to see through the Transforming Energy Access program what could be done to activate that ecosystem of innovation, of commitment, of dedication, of the extraordinary work that these refugees are doing within their communities, and help them transition to become the key actors and the key drivers of clean energy delivery in displacement settings. So we launched the Transforming Humanitarian Energy Access program last year, and Ashden's role within that was to deliver a series of small grants to refugee-led organizations to test different models around clean energy delivery in these displacement settings. We were looking at Uganda, Ethiopia, and Kenya because these are very different regulatory environments in terms of how refugees are able to integrate into the country and the sort of inclusivity policies that are being applied. The grants were deliberately non-prescriptive. We said, you must tackle clean energy, and we would love to see you taking a solution that is a market-based, revenue-generating approach so we can move away from the humanitarian handout system that we've seen traditionally. And we were astounded by the number of applications we had in. We had over 120 applications for the first time we had run this call. And we had an extraordinary number of refugee-led organizations who were already doing great work on clean energy. And their biggest challenge was accessing finance in order to scale up the work that they were doing. So I believe that the Transforming Humanitarian Energy Access call that we've run and the 18 grants that we have now provided is the first grant call of its kind that is exclusively targeting refugee-led clean energy and specifically saying that you must be taking a market-based approach to delivering clean energy to your community. And we're very, very lucky if the technology holds out for us now to be able to hear from two of the grant holders that we've supported through this program. So the first is Rafiki wa Mazingira, who are based in Kakuma Kalabai settlement in Turkana County of Kenya. And if we could move to the speaker. Tech team, if we could bring up the speakers from the Zoom call. And I would like to hand over to Hervé Tuyikeze from Rafiki wa Mazingira to hopefully tell us a bit about the work that they are doing in Kakuma. Tuyikeze, can you hear us? Tuyikeze, you'll need to come off mute. Tuyikeze? Can you come off mute? Otherwise, perhaps we could go to Sandra at Buak. Oh, Tuyikeze, can you hear us? Okay. To attend COP, the challenges of supporting them to dial in from refugee camps around the world. I'm wondering, tech team, if we could then instead play the short video that Rafiki wa Mazingira had prepared for us. for exactly this eventuality. So while the tech team are sorting this out, I will talk a little bit about some of the other organizations that we have been supporting through the THEA program. I mentioned Hodari Foundation, who support smallholder farmers in and around Chakatu settlement in southwestern Uganda, which is a settlement largely of refugees coming from the DRC. Hodari Foundation had been working with mushroom farmers to produce mushrooms, but they were finding that if you didn't sell the mushrooms on the day that they were farmed, they spoiled. And so this was a major challenge for a lot of refugees in Chakatu in terms of earning a livelihood. With the grant that they've received from the THEA program, they have constructed a solar electric hybrid drying room where they can now dry 500 kilos of mushrooms each day. Or it takes a couple more days, actually. And this means that they are able to transport them to market, they are preserved, and they get a much higher value. So this is a very small intervention in clean energy delivery, which is enabling many refugees not just to access energy, but to improve their livelihoods by taking this approach. Hodari Foundation charge a very small amount per kilo to each farmer to use the drying service. And this is enabling both the foundation to make enough money to maintain the service and for the smallholders to continue to earn livelihoods from this. Io, you've also done some great work with Last Mile Climate in terms of bringing clean energy for cooking to Bidi Bidi and Kiriandongo. So I would love to hear about that. And I'm just going to pop over to see if we can get the video up from the tech team. If you could tell us a little bit more about Last Mile Climate's work.
Thank you, Asona. So with Last Mile Climate work, Last Mile Climate submitted a commitment during the Global Refugee Forum in 2023, which is called SOLCO, to help transition 250,000 households to clean cooking by 2027. This is very, very ambitious. But of course, the implementation has started already. In Uganda, the target is to reach 150,000. With the current population of 2 million refugees, 150,000 is just a drop in the ocean. But that is the biggest percentage of the commitment. So the implementation has started in Bidi Bidi, Kiriandongo, where I come from, and Chakatu refugee settlement. Yes, and then in Chakatu refugee settlement. So these the refugee-led organizations are being supported with 150,000 euro for 3 years to support market activation. Refugee-led organizations now are the one leading market activation through radio talk shows, community dialogue, making posters in the community, and community are coming out willingly really to buy the clean cooking appliances like the EPCs, the product of African Clean Energy. It is an hybrid stove that uses solar. So these are great initiatives going on, and we see how solar coming in. At the beginning, we thought that maybe refugee community would need a financing institutions to help, like learning institutions. We have brought on board Uganda Vision Fund, Finca, Centenary, but to our surprise is that refugee community in Uganda have a better saving culture. So they're the one buying the products actually in cash because they don't have any property that a bank would, take as a collateral. So this is a learning for us. Actually, it is now the host community that are doing very bad because there's no awareness going on there and they don't have access to information. So this is briefly what I can say, but Solco, it is also in Rwanda, it's also in Nigeria and in Kenya. In Kenya, we're actually in Kakuma, making sure that really refugee community and the host community transition to using electric appliances for cooking, which makes life very easy. For a woman, if you cook using any of these appliances, it makes your life very easy. You cook very fast. When you're done cooking, you can go on the road, engage in economic activities like making mandazi, sumbusa, which will, earn you living. That will allow you support your community better. So this is a summary. Over to you, Isona. Thank you.
Thanks, Tayo. So I think since you touched on Kakuma, we can now hear from Rafiki wa Mazingira, who are one of the grant holders under the THEA program, about the work that they're doing in Kakuma.
I want to start with a question. When we think of refugee camp, what comes to mind? Maybe you think of temporary settlements, of aid deliveries, of people waiting. We have heard how severe the clean energy challenge is in refugee camp. What if I told you, in reality, we are not waiting for assistance for energy solution to come to us from a capital city or a global brand? We are not waiting for energy solution to come with the next W3 shipments. We are building the energy solution for ourselves. My name is Tikeze Gray from Rafiki wa Mazingira, which means friends of the environment. And today, I want to change the story, tell about the places like my home and the people who live there. My home is Kakuma refugee camp. It's not a temporary tent city. It's a vibrant community of over 300 people, refugees and host Kenyans. Many of the refugees have been there for decades, for children and young people who were born here. It's their home they ever known. This is not a short-term challenge. It's a permanent reality. The Kenyan government recognized this permanence of Kakuma and THEA community, and that any other community will face long-term challenges. Every day at Rafiki wa Mazingira, even as refugees who had fled crises in our home countries, we saw two crises colliding in Kakuma. The first was environmental crisis. An invasive plant called Prosopis in Flora was shaking our land, turning it barren, driving rising temperatures. The second was the energy crisis. Families, especially women and girls, spent hours searching for expensive firewood. The homes was filled with toxic smokes from cooking, harming our children's lungs. We saw these two problems side by side, and we asked one powerful question. What if these problems of prosopis to the flora would become a source of clean fuel for cooking? That question was the spark, but our beginning was humble, very humble. We had no machine, we had no money, just our hands, some charcoal dust, and those invasive plants called prosopis. I remember under the scorching sun, crushing, mixing, shaping briquettes by hand, one by one. It was a backyard of direction in the truest sense. It was tough, and people didn't believe in us. But we were determined to find a better way. We knew we had a solution, and we were passionate about serving our community. But passion alone doesn't scale. The really turning point for us was not the new machines. It was trust. When partners like Ashden believed in us, they didn't give us equipment. They gave us technical support and business training to grow. They gave us direct cash grant and trusted us to set our new site. and purchase the equipment that was right to our company. They treated us not as victims, but as agents of change. And that trust, that belief, is becoming our most powerful tool. Look what that trust has unlocked. We've gone from shaping the earth by hand to a production capacity of over 100 tons per day. We've gone from a small group with an idea to Rafiki wa Mazingira Limited, a formal company creating over 30 green jobs, refugees, host community. And today we are in spirit discussion with institutional customers, orders of several tons of briquettes. We are no longer a backyard project. We are a viable, growing social enterprise. So what does this change mean to the ground? It means families can cook with clean, affordable fuel that doesn't destroy the environment. It means we are reclaiming our land from that invasive plant. And it means that women and youth are not just aid recipients, they are producers, business owners, and the champions of their community. So I leave you with these thoughts. When the energy to solve the world's toughest problem isn't only in the sun or the wind, it is in us, the people, in our mind, in our hand, in our determination. We are showing what is possible when refugees like us are included, not just receiving solutions to the clean energy challenges, but in creating solutions. Now, my call to action to you is clear. See us, civilians, or possibly displaced people like us not as a problem to manage, but as a source of innovation and climate leadership. Partner with that, not through layers of intermediaries, but directly bring the expertise, your networks, and fund us directly. Trust us with the resource to scale. Invest in our vision, just as we do in any other promising startup. One refugee have the tool and the trust. We don't wait for change. So the next time you think of refugee camp, I hope we will no longer see a place where people wait. We'll see a place like my home, Kakuma, a place where we need change. Thank you.
That was a recording, but THEA, if you are online and can hear us, thank you very much for preparing that and for sharing your experience with us. Our founder, Sarah Butler-Sloss, actually visited Rafiki wa Mazingira in February of this year. And at the time, they were working out of the backyard of their co-founder, Bajirenge Blaise Pascal, with a machine which they had been gifted from the ILO. Now, this is really important to have these kinds of contributions in kind. But the reality was that the machine was slow and it was running on diesel. So Rafiki wa Mazingira were using nearly 2/3 of the revenue that they generated to power the diesel machine. And they couldn't produce as much briquettes as there was demand for in their local community. The difference with the Ashden grant was that we provided them with the direct funding and said, you buy what you need to do to make your project work. And they went out and they bought a new machine that can produce up to 3 tons of briquettes per day because they see already that there is that level of demand in their community. And they purchased solar power equipment to power that machinery. And because they had the evidence of the Ashden grant behind them, they could also negotiate with the camp management authorities for a larger area of land. So they have been able to move out of this backyard operation that they had been previously running for 4 years and into a larger site, which is properly fenced in, where they have water, where they have their solar power supply, where they have all of their equipment for briquette making. And they are now in discussion with institutional customers for 10 or 15,000 tons of briquettes over the next few years. So you can see how with a relatively small amount of money, with the lack of restriction, with the freedom for them to design their own project and to do their own procurement, this can be game-changing. But access to capital remains a massive problem for refugees. So if we can hear now from our second THEA grant holder, Namulemo Suti Sandra from the Bioenergy Umbrella Association of Changwali. She will hopefully tell us a little bit about what they are doing to overcome this barrier of accessing finance. Oh, we have video. This was an unexpected delight. Can we switch to Bua and Sandra? If you can hear us, Sandra. Otherwise, we may need to use the video instead. Or, yeah. So if we can switch to... Excellent.
We are the first refugee-led biogas energy association in East Africa, and we recognize that conventional systems that are asking the poorest to pay upfront costs is a broken system. But more importantly, we have built a profitable enterprise which can finance returns while combating deforestation. Let me explain how our model at work works. Take, for example, our first members, Docas and Narcisio, like 99% of our community, they relied on firewood for cooking. In Changwari refugee settlement, we have a population of around 150,000 people, and of which 99% of them are relying on firewood for cooking. And this is resulting into depletion of our very beautiful forests of Goma. And over 80% of our community members are suffering from any pollution. But what came up with a good, nice solution of how to make this affordable, how to make clean cooking affordable. We came up with our loan-to-own biodigester model, whereby Docas and Narcisio paid 0% upfront cash, and they also contributed 30% costs in kind, which is in terms of labor and local materials. We at work financed the rest of the 70%. We constructed a 4 cubic biodigester for them, whereby they are using animal manure and water to produce biogas for cooking. With a cup of liter of water and animal waste, which is put into the biodigester each day, Docas and Narcisio are able to meet 70% of their cooking needs. And as a result, they are saving over 20 kilograms of firewood each day. Their loans are repaid over a period of less than 3 years. Not with the scarce money, but with the bio-slurry fertilizer, a byproduct that is coming from their systems, which later we buy back from them and sell to the farmers in our community. The proceeds are reinvested in our revolving fund so that we can build biodigesters on this loan-to-own model for more new members who are interested in joining the association. This simple flip of the script unlocked everything. For Docas and Narcisio, it meant clean cooking, fuel, and new income streams for their households. For work, it has created an income model with a 95% repayment rate. That single story of partnership is our blueprint, ladies and gentlemen. It is our blueprint at work. From the first 2 digesters built in 2023, we have scaled to over 81 operational systems today. We have also achieved 26% gross margins, and we recognized this year with an Ashden grant under their Transforming Humanitarian Energy Access program that we are using to continue building our revolving fund. We are not a pilot project. We are a proven, sustainable, and scalable refugee-led business. Our call to action, ladies and gentlemen, this is not just a climate action. It is an economic opportunity. with a chance to deliver financial returns to work that will benefit work, our community, and our supporters. It is a chance to stop deforestation, improve our soil health, empower refugee leadership, and demonstrate that mixed market-based approaches are the key to scaling clean energy in displacement settings. Over the next year, we are seeking over $25,000 investment. This will continue to contribute to our journey of scaling from 81 registers to 300 registers by 2030. This is a period of around 5 years, and which will be transforming over 2,000 lives in Chawali and mitigate thousands of tons of firewood use. We are here today to challenge the old mindset and find partners to help us scale this proven profitable refugee-led utility. Ladies and gentlemen, as we close out, let's not forget that we can prove that the best investments are those that trust the people closest to the problem to build their own solutions. Thank you so much and have a blessed day. Bye.
Again, that was a pre-prepared video, but I hope that Sandra is online and we can all appreciate the great talk and the fantastic work that BUAC are doing in Changwale in southwestern Uganda. I don't know if you did the maths while Sandra was talking, but if a household is saving 20 kilos of firewood in a day, that's 2 tons of firewood across a year that one household is not burning for a very, very small intervention. And as we heard from Ira earlier, where we have tens of millions of people in refugee settings and 120 million now forcibly displaced, what that small number, as you begin to scale up, really does show the difference and the importance of tackling clean energy for displaced people. We were going to run this as a kind of breakout of several groups, but because we're a fairly small group, we will go now to a first question, hopefully. Or I will just read it aloud. There we go. To understand what has brought you to this session, and how does the topic of clean energy in displacement settings relate to the work that you do? And are you seeing any synergies with your field? Yeah, we are on the slide I want now. So yeah, if anybody would like to share perhaps some reflections from what we've heard and the crossover that there is with your own work.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Hughes with Solar Cookers International. We are a previous Ashden Award winner from many years ago, so thank you. We've also been working in Kakuma refugee camp providing solar thermal solutions. And I'll just say we have an event right after this at the Include Pavilion, so if anybody wants to come learn more about solar cooking. And thanks again to Ashden for helping us along the way. So
excellent. Great to see you, Caitlin.
Hi everyone, I'm Jakub Verba. I work with Energy Saving Trust and we support entrepreneurs to develop solar powered appliances. And we have got a pilot program in Rwanda in 3 refugee camps with our partners Practical Action to empower refugees to run small businesses through productive use appliances. So what brought me to the session was to learn from Ashden because we have been following their work for many years and they helped us also to conceptualize and shape our small pilot in Rwanda. And I guess my question to the panelists would be how, because we run different programs on supported companies and receive hundreds of applications, but it's usually from more kind of mature companies that have like the resources that they can put efforts into writing a long application, but maybe it's not the case with kind of grassroots organizations in the camp. So I'm just curious if you could tell us some suggestions how we could improve our applications processes to support kind of more early stage entrepreneurs on the ground. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Obed Koringo from CARE Denmark. we were actually supposed to support one of the BUAC staff to be in this meeting, but unfortunately missed his flight, and that's why they are doing this virtually. So BUAC, we work with them in Changwali actually on the biodigesters work, but also I'm actually amazed by the Prosopis Juliflora example, because we are doing exactly the same in Addis Ababa, in Ethiopia, sorry, in a place called Afar, where we are actually doing briquettes together with Care Ethiopian partners on the ground, and building blocks, and also producing also animal feeds. And we go further to actually do climate smart agriculture using drip irrigation on the land that actually has been cleared. So I also wanted to know if this is the same with your colleagues in Kakuma. So I think some of the areas where we can see synergies is around how do we, in the era of shrinking aid, what are some of the innovative financing models that we can actually explore to be able to support some of this work? And last but not least, we are also getting into the DAB. We have this new program called Camps to Cities program, which is actually, we are trying to see how we can transform the camps to small cities under the Shirika plan, which has actually been recently launched in Kenya. So yeah, thank you so much.
Hi everyone, I'm Stefano Marguccio, I'm the Deputy CEO of Sustainable Energy for All. This is a topic that is very close to my heart. We are sitting in the board of GPA, and I'm just trying to get some inspiration, let's say so, to unleash some energy. I see potential, of course, in the carbon markets and carbon credits, especially for clean cooking. We have to figure out how to make it so real that it can go down to that level of reality and that size, which is pretty small. And then I think there is this big opportunity, especially now that a lot of the humanitarian financing has been withdrawn, to help UNHCR to rethink how they do it, having renewable energy at the core of it. And then one provocation that I was doing through GPA and partners is what I think I mean, the camps are treated differently from different countries, right? Some are willing them to stay a temporary thing, even if they've been there for 30 years. Some, like in Kenya, are trying to integrate and giving voting rights and really make them a community. What we think is then there is a case for creating an integrated energy system with the county that is hosting the camp, and create a joint planning to have renewables deployed on the ground that can unleash economic opportunities, better integration, and a mutual, let's say, symbiosis on the energy side. So that's the other angle that I'm thinking on, and I'm trying to figure out if we can, let's say, produce some meaningful projects. So yeah, just here to listen.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Michelle. I'm the Senior Policy Advisor on Climate Action from UNHCR. Really honoured to be with you all as wonderful partners. I'm not the expert in this area, though we have our expert here in the COP with us, Pilar Pedrinelli. But just to say thank you so much, Ashden, for all your messages. We're absolutely fully on board with you, of course. One of the things that Pilar was launching just yesterday, actually, was our Refugee Environmental Protection Fund, which is delivering refugee and host community generated carbon credits. So it's a really interesting, innovative approach through clean cooking, the avoidance side, and through reforestation removals. And for us as a protection agency, this is also focusing, of course, on the high co-benefits of credits, including in terms of protection, in terms of local ownership, and ecosystem restoration. So all of those co-benefits together, and that's what we're trying to promote and get that better understanding of also in the negotiations, to understand how we can actually deliver solutions on the front lines and indeed link it to the financing opportunities. We see a little bit of hope in that area because we've had some more recent GCF projects being approved for the first time in refugee hosting areas in Tanzania last year around ecosystem restoration. Landscape restoration, to be more precise. And just the last GCF board meeting just approved something for South Sudan there with WFP, UNHCR supporting on the implementation, increasing flood resilience. So it kind of is opening the way. It's sort of area-based approach, refugees and host communities together to really be able to support even in fragile and conflict-affected displacement settings. So thank you again, all of you, for your amazing work that you're doing and your technical expertise. And if you'd like me to connect you to Pilar, I'd be happy to do that. Thank you.
Yes, please. So it's great to hear that we have such a variety of people in the room, and one more to add to her experience in this sector.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Jocelyn Perry with Refugees International. I work closely with IO in Kampala. And really excited to be here as part of the session today. Most of the work we do is on inclusion of refugees and other displaced communities in adaptation to climate change, but we're also working on mitigation solutions and inclusion really at the policy level of refugees in NDCs throughout the world. So our focus is on meaningful engagement and bringing solutions that refugees are already leading in their communities to the national and the multilateral level, and kind of just serving as that bridge for the solutions that refugees are already leading. So thank you for supporting this work today.
I think that's actually a really great comment and leads nicely to the Refugee Environmental Protection Fund. Is that there's a lot of activity out there already, and actually one of the main barriers is making sure that refugee-led organizations are aware of these initiatives, can tap in and can benefit in the same way as host community or larger national players can. Another reflection is around how we integrate refugee settlements and include them in the energy policy planning. And we've seen a wonderful example in Kakuma with the construction of the new mini-grid there. But that's only a kind of fraction of the energy needs within that community of 300,000 people. And so we really need to think about how we can facilitate refugee-led organizations to bring the solutions into their communities, because these are the solutions who are going to stay. I think too often we've seen initiatives that offer subsidies to large national companies to reach the last mile, but as soon as the subsidy goes, the company goes. And so as we work on our policy planning, as we work on our inclusion, as we launch major and really, really positive initiatives, the key focus needs to be on how refugee-led organizations can benefit from and be integral to the delivery of those plans, because they are the people who are ultimately going to stay and serve their communities the best. What we've seen particularly with THEA, through BUAC, through Rafiki, is the ability that they have to iterate, to flex their offer, to really meet the needs of their communities and listen to the needs of their communities, not just in terms of energy use, but also affordability, in terms of the way that they can repay for the services that they are purchasing. And having that level of inclusion ultimately delivers a far more efficient and long-term sustainable model. I'm going to move to one more question, which was really, and I think that Obed, you picked up on this, was around the technology transfer. RUAC are not using, they have not invented biodigesters. Rafiki wa Mazingira have not invented carbonized briquettes. This is around the uptake of existing technologies in displacement settings. And I would like to hear from any of you if there have been enabling factors that have supported the uptake, maybe from solar cookers, of refugee organizations in using technologies that were not previously available to them. Caitlin, if I can hand the mic to you and put you on the spot.
Thank you so much. Yes, working with local collaborators, especially having women teach other women how to be using solar cookers. So actually, we've been working in Kakuma for a number of years, and it's awesome because previous solar cooker participants are now the ones training the next participants in terms of solar cooking, which has been really helpful. And then speaking the language, cooking the local foods, all of that's been really, really helpful. So we also do local production. So we encourage local production for solar cookers anywhere in the world. So the ones in Kakuma are made in Kenya with local labor as well, which is really nice. Also, follow-up is really important with any behavior change and adoption of new technology. So that's part of what we build into our programs, gathering data, but also making sure we're providing that support so that people have that community. And again, the benefit of working there multiple years in a row is that there are people there who are experts and can help teach others in terms of making sure it's being optimized. Thank you.
And perhaps we could hear from you momentarily about what Last Mile Climate is doing, working with refugee-led organizations to promote the uptake of technologies.
Yes. First, I want really to appreciate the government of Uganda in their absence. And then UNHCR, there was advocacy on extending electricity, the national grid, to the refugee camp. And now Chaka 2, Bidibidi, Kiriandongo, these are settlements that now have access to the national grid. And this has really promoted the uptake of the EPCs. So these are areas that EPCs are really being sold out 100 of them in a week. And I've seen this working so well, and there's hope that also other settlements will have extension of the national grid. But also through the REP fund, I was part of the launch of the REP fund that UNHCR just mentioned yesterday. It was launched here. There's also, there's going to be mini grid pilot done. And as Uganda, we are happy to say that the pilot will be done in Uganda in Bidibidi and Chaka and Changwale. There will be pilot mini grid where now we are advocating for the inclusion of e-cooking, and that will also somehow boost up the uptake, but also including the refugee-led organization. This is now what Solco is doing, making sure that the refugee-led organization really lead the market activation because they understand the culture, the language, you know, the locations. So refugee-led organizations are using local language. And now what we are thinking of is how do we rebrand this product in local languages? For example, if you're operating in Changwale, an old grandmother over Ayo cannot call EPCs. She has not gone to school. So why don't we rebrand it in Kiswahili? For example, for the community in Changwale, why don't we rebrand it in Arabic for South Sudanese community so that it is called in a language that if two mothers are interacting, we'll be able to say, did you buy this? Do you know this product? You know, this is some of the things we're looking at, but also UECCC, under the Ministry of Energy in Uganda, they have a subsidy program, which is through the funding of World Bank. They are subsidizing, they're giving us 30% of every product that goes to the refugee settlement. And now, with support of UNHCR, we are also advocating for 60% subsidies. If this goes through, by God's grace, that means then these products will be much cheaper in a refugee hosting districts in Uganda than in any other part of the country. And then the last thing that we are looking at is using the refugee saving groups, which instead of using a bank, and we think this will really, it is already working in Bidibidi, where we instead of using the microfinance institution that has higher interest rate, we use the village saving groups. They buy the products for their members, and then the members now pay slowly to their own saving groups. So these are things that are working. And I think the last one would be radio talk shows. Sorry. The radio talk show is really working. We had few in Bidibidi and Kiriandongo. The first radio talk show, we received over 150 clients wanted to buy products. And CARE, you guys are doing quite great in promoting EcoCar. The refugee businesses in Lokopio, in Bidibidi are quite doing good, making sure that the products are really closer to the community, instead the community looking for the product. So these are few factors that are really promoting uptake of clean energy in a refugee setting. Thank you.
Great. So it's wonderful to hear that there's demand. If they can access, the demand is there. And also, thank you all so much for coming to this session. Please give me your contact details afterwards. I'd love to connect and hear more about the work that you're doing and see how we can contribute. We are being told that we have to wrap up now. So thank you all for coming along and for bearing with our various technical challenges. And thank you to the NDC Partnership Pavilion for hosting us today.